taking you through the dashboard, functionality of the tool, etc. It may be very quick because it is a topic that if we start going into it in great detail, we could be here for hours as to the benefits that you get from this tool. And this is just to give an introduction to what it can do. Feel free at any time to put any questions that you have into the chat and I will endeavour to answer them. And let's get going. You should see the Lacework dashboard. It is a cloud tool, so you'd be logging into this via your URL for your tenant. The tool in itself is a cloud security tool. Now, there's many cloud security tools, but this one specifically is looking at the behaviors in cloud. It's looking for compliance in cloud. It's looking for threats in your cloud infrastructure, the network traffic, but we'll focus on the behavior element during this call. Visibility is key too. We'll look at the polygraph. Lacework is a tool that's going to allow for visibility of your cloud estate, what's talking to what is going on under the hood on servers, containers, etc. Giving you an idea of what's maybe unexpected, anomalies, etc. So as you can see on screen at the moment, this is the main dashboard I'm in. It is a training environment, so it's a dev environment. I don't have full admin in it. We don't have our own tenant that we can take customers into here at Somerford, so Lacework provide one, but we can't be full admin in it in case I go and break it and other people can't use it, etc. So there's some things I won't be able to click on today, some things I can, but we'll go through it just from top to bottom. So on screen at the moment, we can see that we've got incoming data. And the incoming data is, you can see cloud audit logs, network connection histories, and so on, processes on systems, files that have been scanned for threats, changes, etc. And also log files from AWS, Azure, CloudTrail, that type of thing. That's going to give you visibility of your usage of cloud, what people are up to when they're configuring, building, etc. Any kind of automation that's going on. And again, it's going to look at your compliance. It's going to be doing cloud security, posture management. But this data here is all of that data coming in. Now, you'll be used to, if you're using a SIEM tool with Splunk, how you're going to get that data in. You're going to be maybe generating syslog, putting that in a server, pushing that up to your Splunk environment and so on. You're going to be pulling all those logs in. Then you're going to have to be working out what to do with them. Maybe using apps supplied by companies if they've built them, or third-party apps, creating dashboards, creating reports and so on. But you're going to have to know what you're looking for in order to create those reports. What are the things you expect to see? What would you class as unexpected in a particular application or service, so on? But you're not going to really be able to do full cloud security posture management unless you fully know the particular things you should be adhering to in your cloud estate. So you can certainly pull in CloudTrail logs. Then you have to piece it all together to work out, are you actually compliant for the things you have to adhere to? What may be the best resolution for those items and so on. So it's the same principle here. So we're pulling that data into Lacework. There's a variety of methods to do so. You've got an agent to go onto the target machine, or we can do it agentless. So the same type push and pull could happen to get that information from the device, from the container, from the endpoint, whatever it is that you're currently wanting to review. You could put an agent onto that, or you could be sending that up to Lacework. As long as it gets that data, it then begins to analyze it. And that leads us into this here, which is the entity behaviors. So imagine that you are using a PC at home for years, never any issues with it, and then you start firing it up. And when you fire it up, you're now starting to see a command prompt window appear and disappear very quickly when you log on to it. Never seen it before, but it's now starting to do it, and it's a strange behavior. You raise an eyebrow at it. You're thinking, if I get a virus, is something up here? It could be legit. It could be that you've just had a recent, maybe a Windows update, and now this is expected behavior. But to you, it's not expected. So it would raise an eyebrow. It's something that you would want to know about. So when you're looking at Lacework, it's using under the hood all kinds of machine learning. It's using all kinds of like threat detection and so on to assess if something is expected or not. It's behavior driven. So an example of that would be, say I have a server sitting in AWS and it contacts a single IP every day to perform some kind of task on that server. It might be doing some kind of authentication or something, but it always goes to the same IP, and then one day it goes to a different IP. Something's up, or is there? You've got it where for years it's been contacting the same IP, then on this particular day it contacts a different IP. So it could be that there's been a change and now it's to contact a new IP, or it could be that something is now on that server that's trying to call home or do some kind of, crypto mining or something like that can be happening on that server, but it's never been seen before. How would you catch it if it was in your CM tool? You're pulling all the logs into the CM tool. Are you looking for a particular box talking to something out of the blue? Do you have an alert set up to say this particular box should only ever contact this IP? And if it doesn't, if it contacts something else, I want to know about it. Have you got that in your CM solution configured as an alert based on the data that's coming in? How would you know to capture a process suddenly calling a file that it's never called in its life, or trying to make a change to your system that it's never tried to do before? And that's the behavior-driven element of this, is you're building a profile. You're building a profile of all of your resources, what talks to what particular things run on what is the expected baseline for your business. All these things, thousands of servers, thousands of containers, all these applications and so on running in a cloud estate, what are they supposed to be doing? And then if they start doing something very different, they start doing something that's not part of the norm, then that's when Lacework is going to call it out. It's going to say, this seems a little strange, this doesn't match the profile that we've got, so therefore is this something that we should be concerned about? But it's also checking for known things to be concerned about, certain vulnerabilities, certain compliance issues, strange behaviors, that type of thing, that it knows for a fact is not right. It's going to be calling them out too. So you've got the two worlds there. You've got the behavior driven, this is a little bit strange, let's call this out, is this something you're aware of? To the, we know for a fact that this is something this server shouldn't be doing, we're going to call that out too. I just need to move, I have a little panel that you don't see that covers up the screen when I'm doing this. I'm just moving that so if my mouse is doing strange things, and that's what it is. So now we've got on the right hand side, so we've got all the data coming in, we've got the behaviors are getting checked here, what's going on the machines, etc. Now we've got events here. And this is where the Lacework platform is checking all of these behaviors, and it's calling out, well, what about these behaviors may be a little bit strange? What's a compliance deviation, as it says here, anomalies, as we'll call them, things that are different, weren't getting done before, and so on. So we can say we've taken 198k behaviors here that have been learned, and we're calling out 389 of them. And one of these is definitely a critical high severity event has occurred within this data. And we have it all summarized here. We can click these, so I can click the integrations to see where this data is coming from. I just click that, I'm taking it straight to the page, and I can see that they're coming from these cloud accounts. So we've got some CloudTrail coming in, got some activity and audit logs coming in, and so on. These have been onboarded as data sources. If I come back to the dashboard, I can click to see all of the events, every single one of them that has been called. We are going to go through these in more detail, so I'm just going to very quickly jump away from these, but we can see the types of events that are being called out here, like calling a particular file that hasn't been called before, why is it doing it, etc. And then we've got the critical and high level events, the ones that we definitely want to know about. You can see here we get some information, and this one is actually an example of what I said before. So we've got this particular device has started contacting an IP from a process that shouldn't be contacting that IP or hasn't contacted that IP before. So therefore it's saying something something seems to be up on this box. And we get that all summarized here. And to be honest, the amount of concerns that are raised, they become minimal because it's driven by the behaviors. We talk about like 2 tickets a day type of thing can be generated from it, whereas when you're looking at Serum Tool, you could be getting hundreds of things that have to be investigated, tweaked to stop false positives and so on. But this is doing it via the machine learning. We do have the option to change the dates that we can go back on here. We can see that we're looking at the past 3 days. We can go week, we can go month, etc. Change that, all these numbers will change if I was to put that to a month. We get a summary here of the types of things that have been seen in the time period chosen. So we've got some low severity, we've got some info, some high severity events. That type of thing is going to be given to us. And scroll down again, we can click this and it'll take us to a summary of the heading that we've clicked on the events page. We can see this box has been hooked up to AWS, Azure, and GCP. We're getting full visibility of each of our estates. It can be applied to multiple accounts as well within those particular cloud providers, all summarized here. We can see the level of data that's coming in, what's been scanned, the amount of logs that have been looked at, so on. And then we get a summary at the bottom here of the behaviors that are actually getting checked and how much Lacework has learned about the estate that it's currently hooked into. If we come down the way, we've got compliance here and we have cloud. This is where the cloud security posture management comes into play. So if you imagine I have access to AWS within Somerford, I spin up boxes all the time, I do webinars, I do labs, I will sometimes have to build my own little dev estate to replicate, say, an issue with a customer Splunk, or to test out an app, get it configured correctly if the customer doesn't have a dev estate to do that in. So I go in and I spin up devices all the time in AWS, but I am in no way, shape or form an absolute AWS expert. These types of things to me are great. Like I used Azure for years, previous company, and it was just log in, click, 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 and then you had your VM at the end, or your service built at the end, your app installed and so on. But with me not being an expert, have I created holes in the estate when I've done so? There are certain checks that are done when you build boxes, like I believe in Azure, you cannot use administrator as the administrator name anymore. They won't let you put it in the box because everyone knows that administrator is going to be the default admin name and most will leave it that way. So I think that 9 out of 10 people that I've went to deal with Azure call it like local admin as the admin name instead of administrator. So it's things like that that are creeping in as risks when you're building the boxes, and you don't really think of the security side of it. Like I will leave on, for example, all of the web connections, SSH from anywhere is the default rule in AWS, that anyone can SSH to that device if they know the IP or the address of it. You know, anyone can get to it, and they do flag it up. You shouldn't really leave the box in that state, but it happens. You know, just out of convenience, you'll leave it that way for like 10 minutes, shut the box down, dismantle it and so on, but it might be up for a while, those types of rules there. There are way more under the hood of these types of issues when it comes to who's got access to control your AWS, the VPCs and the networking that goes on with it, the usernames, are passwords being recycled, are keys being changed and rotated and so on. All of those types of things you have to bring into your build essentially. If you're automating your AWS, then you have to have all of these things put into the build steps of that automation when you're spinning up, knocking down things and so on. So cloud security posture management is essentially going into allowing a tool like Lacework the ability to go in and read your estate. It can do that via a variety of ways. CloudTrail, for example, I'm going to pull in all the CloudTrail logs. I can now see what changes have been made. We could use Terraform integration and so on. Not going to go into huge detail on that, but it's just that behind the scenes, it's looking at your cloud estate, it's looking at the rules, the settings, it's looking at the types of things that are being used in that cloud estate, and then it's going to come back to you and it's going to say, based upon your particular baseline, these are the things that you currently should look at. These are the things that are definitely you don't want to have, like the allow all port 22 in a Unix box, to the, you might want to think about rotating these keys and so on. And it's mainly for compliance, as we've got up here, cloud compliance. So we can see here, if we scroll down the way, we have particular benchmarks. So out of the box, there's a whole bunch of these. You can create your own. You can create your own policies. We'll see that in a moment. I can't create a policy in this because I'm not full admin, but you could create your own policy. If we look at this one, we can see it's the CIS, Amazon Web Services Foundation's benchmark. It's one of the main ones you would want to adhere to. So we can see that this estate's been spun up. A couple of boxes have been built. We didn't build them. They're built as part of the automation to allow people to go in and show this off. But they have been set up purposefully to have issues with them so that Lacework can call it out. And we can see we've got this nice little colourful diagram here telling us that we are not compliant in 44 areas, and we have failed on our resources check here. And if we scroll down, we see this split down by the benchmark. So under IAM of the benchmark, these are the topics, and then we start to see, have we failed, have we passed, and so on. We can expand these, we can get more information on them. If we go into the report up here, we will actually be able to click and see the solution for each of the things that we've failed on. We'll be taken through to a page, and it will show us what we should focus on and what we should fix. So if I was to click on this report here, so we've got the report here that we could download. We could give that to the AWS team or compliance managers and so on. But when we actually start clicking these, that should be a link, we're taken to what are the steps that we should actually do to resolve this. So in each of the headings, they give you what the remediation steps would be as well, contained within the report, fully interactive, click around and get that information. I'll come back to our cloud. So again, we're hooking this into 3 different providers. We can hook it into as many accounts as we want. We just have to give the permission, follow the steps. It's part of the setup of this. When you're going through like Lacework training and so on, you actually have to build out one of these tenants, and it takes, I think it took about 5 minutes to actually hook this into an AWS estate, roughly 5 minutes to allow it to go in and do that check. You do want to leave it a while so that it can go and collect all the information, but it does take 5 minutes to integrate. We do have all of these out of the box. As you can see, we've got ISO 27001 here, all the way down. We've got GCP reports, HIPAA, and so on. So depending on your company's needs, what compliance you have to adhere to, they've likely already got a report out of the box for you to go in and just quickly point that at your estate, turn on the particular policy, the particular report that you want, give it some time, it'll come back, it'll tell you what your current situation is. But again, you're getting that report in such a format that they're giving you it split down in highly readable language, but also giving you the solution if you can click on the link, as long as you don't print it off. If you're looking at it on a machine with internet access, click the link, it'll take you to the steps, fully explaining what is the issue here, why do you want to fix this, and what are the steps to fix it. You've got the remediation is given to you as well there. Now, there's actually a thing at the moment that you can do, which is where rather than you having to go and purchase Lacework and so on, you can actually have this done for free. So they are actually doing the cloud security posture management at the moment. If you contact Somerford at info@somerfordassociates.com, you can have this set up, hook it into your cloud provider, and you can get the reporting for free just to see what your current state is. Then there could be a discussion after that as to whether to continue with Lacework and so on. You can also go into AWS and you can just click to get that set up via their marketplace too. So if we now move on, we're now looking at vulnerability. So that was cloud security posture management. So very straightforward, it's going to tell you based on the reports. If we now go to our vulnerabilities, so remember that Lacework under the hood is checking for all types of threats, all types of weird behaviors and so on, and things that are going on systems. And do we have any vulnerabilities? We don't have any vulnerabilities to click on here based on hosts, but we can see that it's checking these types of things. It's looking for particular CVE benchmarks and settings and so on particular systems to see what's up with them, to report on maybe strange firewall rules and stuff like that should be locked down. We do have the containers and we've got exceptions here. Still no vulnerabilities under this for the time period. We've got no scans of activities. As I say, with this being a test platform, can't replicate everything in it without being full admin. I can't just go in and recreate and install an agent on a box and recreate some vulnerabilities. But it's the same idea. We've got things that we can look at here. We could be looking at vulnerabilities on these particular systems. For our exceptions, we've no vulnerabilities, but we've no exceptions configured either. That's if you get false positives and so on. We're saying that, don't report on this, blah, 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 blah. For our AWS, under resources, we get an idea of how is our estate looking right now. So if you imagine you've got a huge AWS estate, you've got thousands of servers up there, thousands of containers, applications, and so on. It's giving the full visibility of everything that's going on in your AWS from the CloudTrail logs and things. Again, pulling in the logs of who's logging on to things, the API calls that are getting made, events that are getting generated, and so on, any errors that have been spotted. If we come down to this, so this is the polygraph, and it's a massive, massive thing within Lacework because we start to see how everything is mapped together. So going from like an endpoint of a user all the way through to the end of an application chain, it builds you a picture of what your estate is like. So if we jump back into here, we have obviously our AWS is split down where we can see, get an idea of visibility. We've got the polygraph showing us how everything is mapped together that it recognizes and can see. We get breakdown here of the actual logs. If you want to go through the logs, you can filter and search on these using these. We have the details of the users that have been identified, logging into particular accounts, what they're up to, their activity that's going on in there. Got all the events there for the users, and then we've got errors for our API calls. Anything that's untoward in there is going to be called out too. We can do that. We've got Azure and GCP here as well. We can see all of the applications that it is recognized. Again, we see the full CPU usage of them. Running down through these, we can see a couple of alerts. We can see the type of connections that get made, the machines that they're on. There's not going to be a lot in this because, again, it's just a dev environment. But even with just the dev environment, you can see this mapping that's occurring with the polygraph of how the applications are talking to each other. What's talking to what is actually going on under the hood of these. To do that manually, I don't even know where I would start to try and piece together a big map like this if I was asked to. But with this, you've got it all in front of you. You can see exactly what's going where, who's talking to what, etc. Again, the polygraph is absolutely fantastic. We've got the ports that are open. We've got the actual application lists up there, the machines that they exist on, and so on. You can see the XEs here. I'm going to go into all of this info. But we're getting a lot of information that we probably previously didn't have of what is actually talking to what is going on under the hood of our estate. It's all broken down in this nice format. If I jump to so we get there's the FIN here is file integrity monitoring, so we can see Lacework itself is taking hashes of files, it's inspecting hashes of files, it's looking for changes. We can see here it's looking for the unique file hashes on systems, unique applications, and so on. It's checking for malicious files that it knows and can identify. We've got any kind of activity happening on them where things have been changed. Obviously, if you're on a system and things shouldn't be getting changed, and now we're seeing things get changed, new files that have been generated, so we're getting all this visibility as well. Again, I'm not going to go through every single thing on these things because that's what I'm saying. To do this in an hour, doable, but if we were to properly go under the hood of every piece of information we get from this, we would be for quite some time. I'll skip all that. But again, we're looking at our containers, we're looking at Kubernetes and so on. We can go in and we can check all of the agents that have actually been deployed if we're using the agent base. On the agent and agent lists, they do have a really nice blog that discusses both. It's very honest about sometimes it can be a hassle to go and start putting agents on tons of machines and so on. So they weigh up the pros and cons on this blog, which is very helpful. The actual documentation for Lacework is fully available online. We don't hide it behind any kind of logins and so on the Lacework support site. So if you did want to get an idea of how you would set up any aspect of it, you can go in and take a look before you look at the product to get an idea of how easy it is to integrate. I mean, I personally find it very easy to integrate. I'm not a coder or anything like that, but going into things like their Terraform integration, it's all step by step. It's all very, very clear. The threat detection, when I mentioned the file integrity monitoring here, they do break down how all the threat detection is done, and the file integrity monitoring has a paragraph in this blog too. So you find lots of info on Lacework. They're very, very public about the tool because it is actually quite good. And if we go into here, we can do an inventory of all of the resources and things that we've got in our AWS, get a quick snapshot of everything that's actually in there and what it's doing and so on. Again, I'll skip past this. I'm just going to jump back up to our events. And I'm still looking for that snapd. I think because I clicked on it, I'll get rid of it. But if we click on an event, and we've got our summary on the right-hand side here. We've got a threat source and so on. So what one is this? What have we got? Someone has deleted a network security group. So it's not particularly a threat, but it could have been. Someone might have deleted that in badness or due to some kind of malicious intent and so on. So we want to know about it. So it's something it's calling out as an anomaly. We've got a security group there that existed for a reason, but now it doesn't. Has it opened up something? Has it caused something bad by deleting that security group? And they split down their events like this. So they cover the main questions. Why has the event been raised? Because the network security group was deleted. So it's very clear. It tells us exactly what has happened as to why the alert exists. And then we've got, well, who did it? We can expand this, see a bit more detail if they've got it. They've got their IDs and so on. We can see their role within this particular tool, but we can see the user is this user that has deleted this group. Then we've got the what. So where is it? What is it? Like, where does it reside? What is going on with it and so on. And so we've got all this information that we could go straight to this particular instance to see what's up with it. And then we've got when it happened here. It gives us some points of investigation. So it gives some recommendations of investigation. So if it was a networking issue, it would be, should this be allowed in the firewall and so on. And you can go through these steps to actually identify what the issue is. I'm going to come back out of this because I really want to come back to an event that has the polygraph on it. There we go. So I've got my snapd back. That's one thing. Each of these that appears at the top here are, think of them as filters. We'll call them filters. So I'm using a tool at the moment. It's a next-gen secure web gateway, and you can add filters to your alerts page, but you have to click. You either need to know their query language to build your own search query, or you have to keep adding drop-down menus and choosing the particular thing that you want to filter on and so on. So getting to the end of filtering your alerts can actually take some time to do that, especially if you don't know particularly what you want to filter on. But here, I mean, it's just one click. So for these particular headings, you can see that the things that match what I'm clicking on are going to stay behind, and the things that don't disappear. And very, very quick to narrow down these particular things. We wanted that high one back. Come on. There we go. And we want to go into our details. Again, it's telling us why. So this particular application, snapd, in this particular box, root has now, I mean, that in itself, root has made an external connection to a particular IP. Should it be doing that? What is it doing? We've got the who did it, it's the root user. What was it? So it's a non-packaged binary, it's on this particular server. Where is it on the server? Like it's this particular process has been identified. When did it happen? But we also have where, which is where the communication went. We didn't have that in the Azure one because it wasn't aware. It had happened in the instance, but this one is saying it is actually communicating to something that might be something very, very bad. Again, we've got these troubleshooting steps that we can walk through to try and investigate this to see what's up with this. We do have a timeline. We're just going to see the one call, I think, on that. But here we have the polygraph. So we saw the polygraph before was huge because we were looking at a massive instance or a ton of applications all talking to each other. But this one, it's calling out just the relevant things that have happened. So this particular server with this process has contacted this IP, and we're getting that extra information as well. When I mouse over this, I can click on it too, and it will give me that info to click on it. But it's telling me where I've connected to. So if you imagine that you've got a application chain of communications that have all been impacted by this, you would begin to see them all mapped out here if they were detected as well as having that strange behavior. If they were relaying information between 3 different servers and so on, it would all be mapped out here. But this is a very simple one. It's just this box called this IP. Should it be doing it? If we go down the way, we've got some information it will try and get about the external, where it went to. It's trying to give us that information. It doesn't have it. We've got some connection details as to what called it, how much information was sent. Did it send more than it received? Is it trying to exfiltrate something from the box, or is it trying to download something onto the box? You begin to get an idea of that. We've not got much detail here, but we do get some process information that's loading at the moment. We know what the process is already, because that's snapd, got process ID there, more information in here about hashing and so on. But we get a lot of information up front immediately, whereas in the CM tool, you might just get an alert. You might just get oh, you've configured this particular box to flag an alert if it's not an IP that's meant to be called. So therefore this happens, you now get your alert, but it'll probably just say, oh, this box gone to this IP. Because you just want to know when it happens, but now you have to go into your CM tool and you need to dig into all the events to get this info. Well, Lacework's giving you pretty much everything that's relevant to this that I can see for me to now go and start digging into this to work out, should it be happening, how to stop it. Let's go on this box and check for anything dodgy going on. Let's block connections to this IP, etc. Lock the thing down. All of that is information that I can get from this. But again, it could be legitimate. It could be something that is allowed. It's been configured in this way. It technically shouldn't. I mean, I shouldn't see root contacting this external IP, but it could be that it's known. But Lacework never saw it before. It's only just started happening. So under the hood, Lacework's got that benchmark. It's got its machine learning all done. It's created a profile of this machine, and it's saved this box only connects to blah, 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 blah. However, on this instance, it's done something strange. So therefore, I'm going to call it out to you. And I think that there's something up. So I've whacked on severity medium because there's something weird about this. Please do go and take a look at it. So what else have we got? We've got our policies here. This is where you're choosing what Lacework is going to report on, particularly with your compliance. You can see in the top right here, I can add my own policy. I can go in and fully customize this if I want to. They've got sections of the documentation of the website where you can go in and you can code these policies, tell it what to look for in logs, the same way that you would write like a search in a CM tool or create an alert or a dashboard and so on. You can go in and you can use language to check these events for things that you specifically want to see and code them to flag them when they happen. Not really went into that because the machine learning in this is so powerful that very rarely see the policies get done, but it can be done if it's needed. The other elements to this are we've got all the things that have been called out in the AWS reports and things that we can customize, or we can say don't report on that anymore, don't tell me about it. Those types of things you can do in the policy screen. Fully customize it to your needs. If you don't need to know about something, you can say don't tell me about it. We have reports. So going back, we've got reports created here. We saw one earlier. I could have downloaded it, opened it up. I'll click one of these. What was the one we did earlier? Let's see the 27,001 report. See if we've got one for that. I think what was it, the SIS benchmark that we clicked on earlier. So here, this report's been run. I assume that is going to be today, 4 in the morning today, I guess. based on the month order there. But we've got this report, again, we've got an ID, we've got it split down in a report format, we've got a heading, we've got the reason for the particular thing within the report, whether we pass or fail it. And again, if I click that, I'm taken to a page where it tells me, it fully explains what this particular thing is talking about. If we go down the way, we can see how we can configure to audit and how we can configure to remediate if need be. If this is something we definitely want to turn off, all the answers are there as to how to do it, as to how to fully monitor for it, and also how to remediate it if we don't want it happening. I will just get rid of this menu. And we've got tons of them here, so these are a bunch of the out-of-the-box ones that have been run. I assume they've all been run today. They're all tied to that AWS account, but you can run it against as many accounts as you want. You can integrate this with as many as need be. And again, we've got Azure, we've got GCP, and so on, all with the same format. A nice, clear report with those links, those interactive links to click on that take you to the remediation. There's not much else to look at here. We've got the recent events that I've been looking at that I've called up there. Under settings, again, for integration of this, it is so straightforward. I mean, they give you great instructions on how to do it, but you're clicking add new there, you're putting in like just a couple of fields, you're clicking a couple of the radio buttons, doing a little bit of config to allow the Lacework to communicate with your cloud platform, and that's you done. You just have to give it some time for it to go and actually look at your estate to produce that report. I'd say give it a couple of days, get all that information, and then you've got your reports. For the integration of the agents, they are really straightforward. I've got some in here. Again, I can't mess with these because I'm not full admin. But we can turn them on, turn them off, we can hook them in, we can build the trust between the agent and our tenant when we go through the install process of it. But again, we do have that agent list as well. We can configure this for the push and pull to bring that information into Lacework without the agent being required. We do have some resource groups and things in here that you can configure. I'm not really going to go into that, but it is so straightforward to actually set this up. So again, just a quick summary. We've got a tool that's going to give us full visibility of our cloud estate, our resources, what's talking to what are the behaviors of our estate, what's happening under the hood, and that is really it. So as I say, if I was to go into more detail, if we were starting to dig into completely under the hood here, I wouldn't be able to do it in 15 minutes more. So it's definitely something that if you're using cloud in any way, shape or form, you've got Azure, if you've got AWS, you've got Google, you want to have a tool that gives you that visibility, that ties it all together, and without you having to dig through the logs manually to actually see what's going on in the estate, you definitely want to have something like this that just summarizes it very, very quickly for you. I mean, it gives you great visibility, but it is a security tool at the end of the day that it's driven by calling out the things that may be wrong to prevent them happening in future. And again, you can build into, like I mentioned, Terraform earlier. It's big on DevOps. It's big on the I can't speak, elasticity of cloud. So that idea of you building automation, any kind of automation, building Lacework into those steps, and calling out, you're going to create potential risk here if you do X, Y, and Z as early on in the process to prevent them happening in future. So you don't have to wait until the thing is built for Lacework to actually start monitoring it and calling out what's wrong with it. It can do it as early in the pipeline as possible to call out those things before they take effect is a massive part of it too. That's us moving into the CI/CD space though, but on that, it's another aspect of the tool. It's preventing things before they happen because of its knowledge and its under the hood workings. Prevents issues further down the line if you're working in DevOps space. And that is about it. But as I said, if you want to try it out, if you want to see how your cloud estate's doing at the moment and so on, then contact Somerford, info@somerfordassociates.com, and you can set up a Lacework tenant, get the reporting done based on your needs for your cloud estate,
and then have a discussion after that. You at least get the report out of it free that shows you what things you may have missed in your cloud estate, things to focus on, the compliance that you may not adhere to right now that you might not even know about. As I said at the start of the call, I am not an AWS expert. I do not know all of the inner workings of AWS and how to fully secure a cloud estate. It's just not a world I work in. But a tool like this, calling it out to me, makes me seem like an expert if I can go, you're failing this and so on. So this is doing all the work for me. I don't have to be an expert with this for me to know what's up with my cloud estate. Well, thank you very much for watching. Thank you.